Alright, now let's see how we can access the camera and photo library. So once again, we start with the documentation. Here we have a plugin called Camera. And just like contacts, because accessing the camera or the photo library requires special privileges, we need to tell Apple why we need to use these features. So if you look at the GitHub page, under iOS quirks, you can see the two variables that we need to set: NS camera usage description and NS photo library usage description. So below that, you can see the proper way to install this plugin. So the variables we need to set are camera _usage _description and photo library _usage _description. And of course, it depends on the kind of application you want to build. Maybe you only need to use the camera, not the photo library. Then you only set that variable. So here in terminal, Ionic plugin add Cordova-plugin-camera --variable photo library _usage _description, because we need to access photos. Now in this video, I'm not going to use the camera because camera does not work on the simulator. So I just want to use the photo library. And finally, -- save. Okay, beautiful. Now back in VS Code, one thing that I missed to show you in the last video is config.xml. Note these variable elements here. So in the last video, we added the context plugin. You can see here, we have the context _usage _description variable, and its value is what we set when adding this plugin. Similarly, in this video, we are working with the camera plugin, and here you can see we have two variables under the plugin element. So as I explained before, the plugins folder is not checked into the repository, and config.xml is the main source to keep track of the plugins and their variables. So in the future, if you want to change the description of a variable, you simply come back to config.xml and set that here. All right, now in home.ts, first I'm going to import the camera class from Ionic-native. And then in the constructor, when the platform is ready, I'm going to call camera.getPicture. Now here we can optionally supply an argument to configure certain parameters about the camera or the photo library. So if you look at the documentation, you can see this options argument is of type camera options. And on this page, if you scroll down, you can see this camera options class. So here we have properties like quality, destination type, source type, and so on. Now in this video, I'm going to use the source type to get access to the photo library. You can see that the default value here is camera, but I'm going to set that to 0, which is the photo library. So back here, source type, I can set it to 0, or a cleaner way is to declare a constant and set the value there. So I can declare a constant like photo library, set it to 0, and then set the source type to photo library. Now this method returns a promise. So when that is resolved, we get the image data. Now by default, image data comes as base64 encoded. If you want to change that, you can use destination type property. And you can set this to a different value that would return the URL of the file on the mobile device. And then you can manually read the file and do something with it. So for this video, we're just going to stick with base64. We get image data, and then let's log it on the console. Very simple. Save. All right, when the application launches, we get this notification. Pepper would like to access your photos. And then if we grant access, we get the photo library on the mobile device. Now, in a real-world application, instead of logging the image on the console, perhaps you're going to call a service on the server to save the image. Or if you're using Firebase as the backend, you can use Firebase SDK to store the image in Firebase. Next, I'm going to show you how to work with geolocation.